Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Diddy Day 11. Please tell me I'm in the right place. You would think I would double check that before I hit the whole go live thing. And I did. I just wasn't confident because I've been flying since I got out of court. I haven't stopped running for like a second. I'm just one thing after another. I grabbed some food when I got home. The first food I ate all day was when I got home, like at 6 o'clock. And just been running. And I've just been running. I took notes all day today. And then I was like, I need to find a way to streamline my Diddy coverage at night because it's too long. 2 hours is too long. I can't do 2 hours. I can't. It's too exhausting. So I need to condense it, streamline it, get it down compact. Started doing that. But that takes time because I go through my notes and then take notes on what I need to get to you. So I did for half. I did for the whole morning session. I streamlined that. We'll be able to zip through that. And hopefully we'll be able to get through this in 45 minutes. I'm having a follow-up show after this, my regular evening show, the following program, which is more about politics. This is really just about the Diddy trial here. Okay? So we have work to do. We have business to attend to. So let me get my notes that I took, which was a condensation of the key points that I wanted to get to you guys. Going over to day 11, which is the day that we heard testimony today about the day Cassie escaped. The one time she escaped Diddy. And the day she got scarred. Which she told us about the day she got scarred, but we heard about today. We got to hear about from a third party who was there and attacked Diddy. The balls on that man. Which you'll see. I think you'd be happy to hear me make that reference. Okay. Moving right along. Let's start where our day started. Our day started off with LAPD officer Chris Ignasio. Who's Chris Ignasio? Well, this gentleman, he responded on December 22nd, 2011 to a phone call, a code 3, which was telling him, hey, there's a problem at this house and we need you to go check it on out. Go check out this situation that's going down there. Where is 1185 Hollywood Hills Road, where he was sent to at 8 o'clock that morning, or 8:20 thereabouts? Well, this is what it looks like right there. That right there is what it looks like. That is Kid Cudi's home. He was called down there on a code 3. Interesting little tidbits that we get from him. First of all, he took prints of the door. He did take fingerprints of the door. Now, this is the house. This is the morning. Kid Cudi made a phone call in. We heard testimony from both Kid Cudi and Capricorn Clark about this. And from Cassie as well, that Diddy went to Kid Cudi's house this morning after he had learned the relationship between Cassie and Kid Cudi and flew into a rage. And yesterday, Capricorn Clark told us how she was kidnapped and taken to that house at gunpoint. Or if not gunpoint, that was a bit of contention, gun waving, and how she ended up calling Cassie from sitting right in front of this house right here, 8925 Hollywood Hills Road. It's a little bend. Now this road goes upward. If you go from bottom to, it's like you're looking from the bottom part of the picture here is the bottom of the hill, and the hill goes up and up past his house here. So that you're climbing, as you're going up here, you're climbing up the hill. Okay? So let's try and keep our bearings here. He says when he pulls up to the house, he sees an Escalade in front of the house. And the Escalade sees him and takes off up the road, going up this way. Now, part of what we covered yesterday when we were talking about in detail about this coverage of this incident is on cross-examination, Capricorn Clark was asked, these are all dead ends. These all look like dead ends. And you could see what he's talking about here. They all are dead ends. How do you have a car chase? How did they not get caught? You're saying there's a whole car chase going on here. How do you lose someone when you're heading into a very oversized cul-de-sac here. She says, she's like, obviously you don't know the area, because just because on a map it looks that way doesn't mean you can't cut through. I don't know, maybe there's ways you can cut through over here. Maybe there are ways you can cut through up here. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you can know this guy, you can drive to his house. I don't, and circle around that. I don't know. It seems to be a reasonable question. I'm not going to kid you. I'm not supposed to say that anymore. I've been chastised. So, Trump makes for a 10 to 12 hour day before you prep a stream and then stream. Yeah. This is a 10-week period now where I'm working. I feel like I'm working like 16-hour days. And I know it's the most awesome job in the world, and 16 hours of doing what I do is probably easier than 3 hours what most of you do. But it is tiring. I appreciate the support, brother. You're awesome. I appreciate people popping in here. Bring on the Diddyos. I haven't called them Diddyos yet, but I should start calling that. Anyway, moving along. We gotta get through this. I'm supposed to be starting another show in like a half hour, so we really need to. Okay. So he says he sees the Escalade there, goes inside the house. The house door is open, and when he goes in there, there's no one there. Kid Cudi is not there when he arrives there. And he sees some open packages. He sees which look like Christmas presents of expensive gifts. And when he comes out, he sees the Escalade going down the hill past him, coming back down that way. And he took down the license plate of the Escalade. I'll save you. I'll ruin the surprise for you. He ran the plates. He was asked why he didn't follow. He didn't follow because, well, he said, we weren't sure there was a crime here. We were sent to investigate, but we weren't sure there was a crime. But I did take note of the plates. And the car was registered to Bad Boy Records. So there we go. Officer placing Diddy at the scene, or at least Bad Boy Records at the scene. He also printed the door. Next up, we have Jose. The one thing that we have, Lance Jimenez was the next individual to come up. He was the arson investigator. He was called down to investigate the burning of Kid Cudi's car, which happened over here, 925 Hollywood Hills Road. See, he was called in. By the way, I took this. This is a picture circa 2011. Today might look different. Let's see what it looks like today. Yeah. It does look a little different. There you go. Today it looks different. Yeah. That's what it looked like today. All right. Anyhow. So what do we get from Jose Jimenez? He tells us. Pull this up here. He tells us he's a fire investigator who looked into the arson Kid Cudi's Porsche. He claimed that the fire came by cutting off. The fire came courtesy of what, in his estimation, was a Molotov cocktail. If you're unfamiliar with that term, Molotov cocktail means you basically take a glass bottle, empty out whatever contents you bought it with, and then you fill it up with gasoline. It was some type of alcohol that he said this bottle was. Empty out the contents, fill it with gasoline, stick in a cloth, and light it on fire. Now, normally after you light it on fire, you take it and you hurl it. That's the way people traditionally would use a Molotov cocktail. The glass would smash when it hits a hard surface. The gasoline will just spread everywhere and catch fire and basically serve as a homemade. Not that I'm encouraged. Did I just violate every rule? Oh, it's no one should ever do that. No one should ever do that. I can't believe I just said that. That was bad. That was bad. That was the sort of thing. Oh my God. Well, I'll see you all in 30 days. I'll see you all in a week. That was an accident. I was trying to explain in contrast to this situation where what was described as being a Molotov cocktail, they cut a hole in the roof of his car. I can't believe I'm so totally going to YouTube jail. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. No one should do it. And I mean that. No one should. Oh God. I screwed up. I don't think I could describe how you do that. I think that's like a big no-no. That's my gut. My gut was a big no-no. Anyway, anyhow, let's move on. It's the sort of thing that like gets me a week-long vacation from YouTube. 5 good Lawgic. God bless you, brother. Thank you so much. The rest of town's feeling bad for me. All right. Anyhow, this was dropped inside. Glass doesn't smash at any point here. Instead, it tips over. There was a cloth, and it's a fancy cloth inside that falls out, and the gasoline, it's on fire, the cloth. And the gasoline sort of like pours out of the glass onto the seat of the car, and the car seat burns. And he speculated that the canvas roof of the car also burned. This is why in the pictures it doesn't look like a car that got blown up. It looks like a car that had a fire inside of it, because that's what it was. So it was an attempt, a poor attempt, I guess. This does not seem like, this is not Navy Team SEALs blowing up a car. This we can rule out whoever managed to get Osama bin Laden, assuming someone did, and from being the culprit, because they would not do it like this. Just saying. Anyhow, so what did he get? He ran for DNA testing, and the only thing DNA testing told him, was female was involved, but they got nothing further than that. Then we hear about how he tried getting the prints from the LAPD. See if the fire here ties into that whole burglary thing. And when they do that, he goes to the LAPD. LAPD says, we can't find the fingerprints. We don't know where they are. They went missing. And he's asked, is that a common thing for fingerprint cards to go missing? And he's objection. Objection. Oh my God. So basically, we end up having a massive fight, sending the jury out of the room, with the defense saying, we need a mistrial. You just implied to this entire jury over here that the reason that those fingerprint cards went missing is because someone in the LAPD is looking to cover up for Diddy. That's what you just did. You just basically said he's corrupt. We had to remove folks from jury voir dire because they distrusted whether or not celebrities will ever be properly prosecuted. And you basically just said now that the fingerprint cards are missing because it's Diddy. So I think, if you ask me, they were trying to do that. That's exactly what they were doing. That is exactly what they were doing. I found it ironic, and I talked about this in some detail during my lunchtime break. And the judge ends up giving a curative instruction. He denies the motion for mistrial, gives a curative instruction, tells the jury, and the language in that curative instruction, back and forth argument between defense and the government as to how much he should say to. But this was clearly what the objective was. Whole room is just like, as soon as the fingerprint card is missing, whole room is like, oh, ooh. Like, that's what the journalist room is doing. What do you think the jury's thinking? Yeah, I know why it's missing. So he gives that curative instruction. On cross-examination handled by Ignasio, he tried making a big stink about the fact that there was a single glove in the back of the car you could see in the pictures. He's like, what's this glove? Shouldn't we think this glove might belong to the person who did the arson? Why didn't you take this into evidence? Did you take it into evidence? No. Whose glove is it? Well, the owner of the vehicle said it was his driving glove. It's his glove. So that's why we didn't take it into evidence. He's like, but don't you think that if you pick up a burning, flaming bottle of accelerant, that it's going to be hot? No, it wouldn't be. This is how the question on cross went. It wouldn't be hot. But the fire, is fire hot? This is the way the questions are coming. Is fire hot? Yes, fire can be very hot. And if you're handling something that's got an open flame like that, that's what could that not get very hot? The fire part could. Okay. But yeah, once the victim of the crime says, "Oh, that glove is mine," we're not taking that into evidence because we assume, since he called us down here, that it's his. Like, why would he be lying to us about that? So no, we didn't take into evidence. The other thing he said of note was that it definitely looked like a Molotov cocktail, and this looked deliberate and targeted. So Kid Cudi was targeted. That's what he gave us. He said he tried contacting Cassie Ventura and Capricorn Clark. They refused to answer his calls. That's what he gave us. That's what we get from him. And then we move on to Deontay Nash, celebrity stylist Deontay Nash. I'm going to run through the gifts, and I very much appreciate them. I just feel really, really behind. So because I got a lot on Deontay Nash. So I want to say thank you so much, KVL. You're awesome. I really appreciate it. Bella Stella, Queen of Recruitment. God bless you. 10 good Lawgic memberships. And those of you who are sitting here trying to support me in my hour of sitting on the eve of YouTube destruction, I say thank you. I really do appreciate it. It's okay, Joe. Just tell me your Antifa and I'll be forgiven. Maybe now, who knows? Oh, well. Here's our monthly Tidal leader. Can we get some blue raspberry Kool-Aid? Hey, look at this. Oh, well, can you take that? Strawberry raspberry? Because there's no Kool-Aid here. The grape is getting stale. All right. So that's what happened with him. So Deontay Nash comes up here. Let me give you a little bit. He comes up next. Let me give you a little bit oversight about Deontay Nash. Okay. So he is a celebrity stylist, and he's pretty much today, arguably Cassie's best friend. Okay. Talks to her like every day to this day. He met her in 2007. When he was interning for Bad Boy Records, and he became her celebrity stylist. You might not know what a celebrity stylist is. I'll be honest. I thought it meant hairstylist. No. He decides her look. He decides what type of clothing, how she'll wear her hair, what type of style, and on a day-to-day basis, on videos, on other stuff, in order to ensure that she looks something that would be contemporary and in style and look good on her. And that's what he does. So he becomes very good friends. He describes his relationship with Cassie as very close. He was interning under Derek Roche, Bad Boy Records 2007. Derek Roche was like the main stylist, and he ends up becoming a celebrity stylist in 2008. And he's asked, what does Diddy? So you had a lot of opportunity to watch Diddy or Puff. He calls him Puff. So I'm going to try to remember to refer to him as Puff, because in honor of Deontay Nash, who refers to him as Puff throughout his testimony. What is Puff called Cassie? Oh, okay. So he's like, oh, well, Puff would call her either Cassie or Cass or baby girl or bitch or hoe or a slut. It's like, that got dark pretty fast. He said the middle one there was his favorite, not baby girl. Yeah, that was his favorite. And when he would say hoe, he referred to her as being just a hoe or slut. And the last three are the ones he used when he was irate. He was asked if he ever saw Puff getting violent with Cass. He said, oh, yeah. How many times? Way too many times for me to possibly count. Wow. All right. So here we go. You ever see him threaten? Oh, yeah. Lots of times. Lots of times he would threaten. What type of threats would he give? Oh, that he was going to beat her, or that he's going to release her videos, or that he's not going to let her go places, or that he's not going to let her work, or that he'll release her videos to her parents and get them fired. Wow. Okay. Good times. She said in 2012 and 2013, he threatened the parents. He threatened her that he was going to send the videos to the employer of her parents just to get her and try and get them fired. Pretty controlling. Pretty controlling. No. Don't make it. Don't do it. Don't nothing. I'm surprised that my video hasn't collapsed yet because I thought it might. All right. So tell us about some of these times that he threatened or you saw him get angry. All right. So one time he remembers that he used to take Cassie to a gay club because he is gay. And he would take her clubbing and take her to the gay club. And he gets a call from Puff. And she gets a call from Puffy. And he can hear because on speaker. And he basically told her that she better bring her ass to his house. And Puffy calls me and said, we're wilding every time I go out. Every time that I go out, that Cassie, I'm cleaning up the language here. Cassie wants to come with me. So I can't go out clubbing anymore because Cassie's going to want to come with me. And I'm going to take Cassie with me and she shouldn't be out clubbing. So he didn't want her going to gay clubs and hanging out with folks because and that's why he said that you can't go out to clubs. And he was asked about having to send pics to Puff for approval for how she looked and how she dressed, and he would pick out what he liked, and that usually whatever he picked out, that's the way we went. But let me tell you this one story about 2014. We're at a Vanity Fair party. So we're at this Vanity Fair party, and I put her hair, and I styled her and put her hair down. And how did she look? She was the bomb. That's what he said. I should point this out to you, by the way, because this is relevant, and you would not know this just in the transcript. And I was telling my fellow journalists and who are watching with me that they should be mindful of this, because I don't want it to be limited to the few thousand people who watch my videos. The value add that we really bring is the vibe in the courtroom and the takeaway, because that will never translate in a transcript. There are fewer than 100 of us who are watching this on a day-by-day basis. And if you don't understand the vibe, you don't understand what the jury is feeling and experiencing. So that's why I want you to understand the vibe. The journalist watching Deontay today loved him. Really, really loved him because he seemed comfortable, he seemed natural, he seemed confident, and he was funny. He genuinely had some good lines. When he was asked, like, he was showing a picture of himself, showing a picture, they would always, every witness comes up, they would say, who's that? That's me. So when he said, she said, is this around what you look like in 2008? He's like, no. This is fairly inaccurate picture in 2008. So he's like, no. It's like, yeah. So, and Maureen Comey doing the questioning asks him, so what, this is a glamour shot that we have here? Saying, he goes, I look awesome. He's just like very confident, perky. He's an entertaining guy. So he very much resonates when he's giving his testimony as someone who you could picture hanging out and talking with him, and that type of style of delivery during your testimony just makes everything that you're saying seem like obviously he's telling us the truth. Now, he could be a big, fat, stinking liar. I don't know. I never met the guy before. He could be a phenomenal liar. But no one has that takeaway when they're listening to him. And that's an important thing because some of the things that he talked about were very deeply corroborating evidence that no one else has been able to corroborate. And on areas where people might question Cassie's memory, and he really filled in some of the blanks there and was potentially very damaging witness to Diddy, because he describes so much of the horrific abuse that Cassie suffered under Diddy's thumb. And I'm going to start going through some of them. So now this 2014 Vanity Fair thing. He grabs Diddy. This is all, when I say this, everything, all the facts I'm laying out here are based on testimony from Deontay Nash. So he grabs me by the jacket and he's furious at me, saying, "I told you to put her hair up. Why is her hair down? What are you?" And furious with him. So what did you? So I grabbed some pins and I put her hair up. And after he looks at it, he's like, "Oh yeah, you're right. It looks better down." So he talked about a mixtape that Cassie made, Rockaway Baby, and he put it out for free and was not sold, even though and that Diddy refused to put it up for sale. Instead, he put it up for free. And he said, she was asked, was it a popular mixtape? He said, it's the #1 mixtape of 2013. Her mixtape. The point being, he's depriving Cassie because Cassie only makes revenue if Diddy makes money. Point being, he was intentionally cutting off his own nose to spite his face to keep her from making money. That's what we're supposed to take from that. That she put out hundreds of songs, and that being generous, he released maybe 10% of the work that she produced. So that's what we went into lunch with. Then he talked about what context would he threaten Cassie, and he quoted Diddy saying, "If you keep having a smart ass mouth, your mixtape won't come out." And then he witnessed quite a few physical violence, and he tells over the story with Mia. What happens with Mia? So it's the day before the OVO Fest, and I'm in Cassie's house with Mia. Now, Mia is as a pseudonym. She's supposed to be testifying tomorrow. This is not her real name. But apparently she's someone in the Diddy orbit who's part of this cadre of friends with Cassie and Deontay. So they're in Cassie's house. Cassie's fast asleep. There's a pounding on the door. He opens it up and he sees Diddy there. And he is raging, saying, "B, didn't I tell you to answer the phone when I call you?" Wakes her up. She was asleep. Grabs Cassie by the hair, and he's hitting her. And how hard? Pretty hard. And he ends up basically pulling her into the bedroom. And he's in a rage and screaming, "You're all going to stop effing with me." And we followed them into the bedroom, and as he's dragging Cassie in there, and she got free, and we tried going into the bedroom to hide from him, and we're trying to hold the door shut from him, and he barges past us, and he started hitting Cassie. So I jump on Diddy and try to stop him, and he throws me off, and Mia jumps on him and he throws her off, and he takes Cassie and he throws her down, and she ends up hitting her face on the bed frame. And she's got blood gushing from her head, and he's still hitting her. And for a few more seconds, and then when he saw how much blood was coming out, he started freaking out. Like he was scared. Diddy was scared when he saw how much blood was gushing out. And what does he yell? He yells, "Look at what you all made me do. Look at what you all made me do." He ends up sending her to a plastic surgeon, and that's where she gets her scar right by her left eyebrow. And he saw Cassie the next day on FaceTime and identified a picture of her eye swollen. It looks like a golf ball under her eyelid. It's massive swelling. She testified that she sent that picture to Diddy saying something for you to remember or something to that effect. Basically, like, this is what you did to me. What did any of his testimony do with a case about racketeering and sex trafficking? Honest question. I think that's a great question. I think that's a great question. Mike has bad news. So, this testimony is designed to establish that she is acting under his control and that she has no freedom to make a choice. That's what it, so, and that it's when he forces her to engage in commercial sex and she's forced to do it, and despite all the statements she said, oh, I love freakoffs, I want to do it, when there was all this mixed messaging, designed to basically say she did not love it, certainly not always. I had a lengthy discussion with a guy, Peter, journalist, at when during a break, and I said, and I pointed this out, and I'll probably have to say this many more times, and I'm happy to, because this is something people need to understand. I don't like these charges. I don't like Diddy, and I don't like these charges. I think Diddy is a pretty monstrous person. I think he's a pretty terrible person here. There's enough evidence that I've seen so far to decide, and even admissions from his own lawyers about the levels of domestic violence he engages in. I think he's a terrible human being. I think he's deeply talented and influential, and he works very hard to make money. And I give him major props for the influence he's had on the music world. But as a human being, he sucks. He just does. He's abusive to everyone who's around him. And he's probably great fun to be around most of the time, but something will set him off, and then he's a lunatic. So, I don't know, maybe he could have gone to anger management 15 years ago and had a much happier life. But the reality is, anyone who was forced to be in his world or chose to be in his world ultimately would feel his wrath at some point. And so it seems. So with respect to, so Cassie chose to be in his life. She chose to, at first, to engage in that sort of conduct. And she, at a certain point, it becomes clear she doesn't want to do this anymore. But she feels she has no choice. And at that point, it's arguably within the broadest definition of sex trafficking, it is sex trafficking. Why do I say the broadest definition? Because the statute isn't contemplating a Diddy Cassie situation. And I don't like the fact that these prosecutors are using a statute that's meant to really address situation A and using it in a very different, and not situation B. This is like situation, this is like situation 14. It's like, wait, we were on letters. How do we get to numbers? Because what do I mean by that? And as I was explaining to Peter, the reason that these charges really bug me is because I don't like prosecutors should be enforcing the law as it is, not taking a law and finding a new way to apply it to this situation. And that's what's happened here. So while I think that what Diddy did here was terrible to Cassie, I'm fairly convinced that what he did to her was pretty terrible. He broke that woman. He broke her. So much testimony about how she didn't care if she lived anymore. And would just go out through the motions like a slave and just perform. Not always, but certainly on too many occasions. Certainly on too many occasions. We're going to hear about some of them now. So when I see that stuff, I'm like, I don't like this guy. But at the same time, the objective of this statute was to stop people from picking up lost, abandoned kids, runaways, and forcing them to be slaves so that I can get rich. So some monster, a different type of monster than Diddy, would basically say, oh, let me go picking up runaways and then force them to be slaves, and I'll basically collect the money from them. What's the motivation of that monster, not the non-Diddy monster, the one contemplated by this statute, 18 U.S.C. 1591? It's they want money. They're doing this for money. The fact that it's commercial sex, not just sex, they wouldn't do it for free. They wouldn't let someone use what they would consider, their slave for free. They're renting them out. So we're trying to stop that type of conduct. The commercial part to this sex is everything to someone who's traditionally violating 18 U.S.C. 1591. Without it, there's no point to the entire venture. In complete opposite fashion over here in the Diddy Cassie situation, the commercial part has nothing to do with it. He seemingly would have been just as happy if there was no money exchanged here. If he could have convinced these escorts and say, hey, look, she's a pretty girl. Why don't you just go do what you're going to do? But if you're going to do it, you're going to do it in my direction for as long as I want you to go. And if they were happy to do it for free, no money happening at all, wouldn't be commercial, he would have been totally happy. They would have been thrilled. Said he had to pay him $6,000, anywhere between $1,500 and $6,000 a pop. Is that anything like the type of monster the statute is meant for? No. But since we have now the elements of forcing someone for commercial sex, and it was technically commercial because they did get paid, so now he's technically violated it. And folks get happy about applying it and changing what the statute's meant for and applying it here because there's so much testimony about the fact that Diddy is also a monster. But I don't like the fact that prosecutors have license to go out there and start twisting around statutes in order to try and find a way to lock up the monster, because that is giving them far too much power. It's giving the state far too much power. That's why you need to have statutes passed by Congress. And you can't be reinvented and having courts sign off and say, oh, yeah, that's totally a good way of interpreting it. It's very bothersome to me. It was an important question that you're asking here, and that's why I wanted to address that. But I need to move I'm so late. So I'm going to be running through this. A few more stories I want to share with you here as to what he testified about. The cross-examination I thought was very weak. So he also said, so here's another time. This is another incident that he talked about. Okay, I just told you about the scarring incident. So he's in Cassie's house and they're cooking, and it's him and Cassie and D-Rock, who's one of the security guards who would hang out with them a lot. And 2013, 2014, and this was after the bed frame incident, and it's nighttime, and Diddy takes her into the bedroom. Everything was fine. And Diddy takes her in the bedroom, and the next thing I know, he's screaming, "You're all going to get out of my house." And he's dragging Cassie by her hair and pulling her out. And he pushes Cassie and Deontay out of the house. Now, whose house were they in? They're in Cassie's house. But the point that the government wants us to realize is he thinks of Cassie's house as being his house. He's like, "You're all getting out of my house." And so I go downstairs to leave, and the security wouldn't let me leave. They said he pushed me out, but he was still dealing with Cassie. So I go down to the garage to get my car and get the heck out of there. And he said, wait for Puffy to come down before you can leave. So Puffy and Cassie come downstairs, and he's berating us both. And he said, we're not going to be playing with him. And we should take our broke asses and drive off into the sunset. That's what Puffy said to us, me and Cassie. So we start leaving, and then he calls me, he tells me to stop, and I stop, and he comes over to the window and he starts yelling at Cassie some more. And he says that he's yelling at her that he's going to release her sex tapes, and her brother is just a bitch, and Cassie's crying in tears. So as I'm driving off, I said, look, if he wants to release the tapes, he's not going to release the tapes because it would be embarrassing to him also, because he's going to be on them. And that's when Cassie told me, no, I'm the only one on them. He made me perform with these other guys. And I was like, do you really want to do that? And she's like, no, I don't have a choice. So he's testifying about things that Cassie allegedly told him going all the way back to 2013, 2014, 4 years before she splits up. So at the very least now we have someone corroborating that, he was aware of multiple incidents, and he's going to talk about other incidents when he saw her going for freakoffs. And that's when he was introduced to the term freakoff. And she said that she never wanted to have sex with other guys. And so anyhow, then I'm off with her. This is the same night, okay, after he threw us out. Now Diddy wants her to come back, and he's looking for her. and I'm trying to help her hide. So I drove with her back to my house, and I get a phone call from Roche. Now Roche is Derek Roche. He was his boss as far as being a celebrity stylist. And Roche comes and he tells me Diddy is on his way over to my house. So I'm like, all right, we got to get you out of here because he's raging like a lunatic tonight. Let's get you out of here. So I drove her down. This before there's like really Uber. So I drove her and dropped her off on the corner there and had her get a cab. So she gets a cab, and I head back to my house. Puffy comes to my house and he's looking around my house, and he even looked in the oven. And I'm like, why the hell would you be looking in the oven? But he's looking around for my house saying, where is she? Where is she? The next thing that happens is Cassie calls me. So Cassie called, but she's calling. She was at the La Montrose Hotel, and she called from the hotel phone, and it came up on my phone as La Montrose Hotel. So when I pick up the phone and he sees it's Cassie, he's like, oh, okay, she's at the La Montrose Hotel. Let's go there. La Montrose Hotel was a place that Bad Boy Records would regularly put some of their visiting guests up. So they head to the La Montrose they want to go to La Montrose Hotel, and they know that she's not going to come out. So he told me that I have to drive in my car, and they're going to follow behind me, and I'm going to get her to come out. So this way they can get Cassie to come out. So he tells me to go to La Montrose. So I get in my car, and I'm driving to La Montrose, and they're driving behind me. And when I walked up, he says, since you won't be able to chummy chum with those bitches, go get her. So, and I said, you took my phone from me, because they took his phone to make sure he wouldn't call and warn her to run away from the La Montrose. I can't, if I go up there without my phone, she's gonna know something's up. So I need my phone back. So he gives me my phone back. And then I go up to Cassie's room, and I was there with D-Rock. And when I came in, how did you know where her room was? Oh, the Montrose Hotel staff, they serve Bad Boy Records all the time. They just told us where she was. There's no privacy. There's no privacy. She literally, it's like wherever she runs, there's no privacy. We got there, and when we came in, it was me and D-Rock went up there. Diddy waited downstairs. And when we come in there, she jumped up like she was terrified. And we told her that Diddy was downstairs. And she's like, I'm just gonna jump off the balcony. That's what she said. But she wanted to self-delete. She's like, I can't even run away from him. And they're like, no. So D-Rock heard this, and he saw, this is what I'm talking about, as far as him breaking her. This woman's broken. I've so many stories where people are saying that they're looking at her, and we heard from Kerry Morgan, who said that when Diddy was pounding on her door with a hammer, and she said, I was looking at Cassie, and it looked as if part of her was wishing he would break that door down and just end it. Just finish her. This is not something that's okay. So you might tell me she was a mark. You might tell me she was, she was interested. At a certain point, this is not okay. So, even if you want to give him the benefit of the doubt, at a certain point, you have to be like, come on. In my opinion. So D-Rock felt bad. So D-Rock even jumped in and said, we'll sneak you out of here. Away from Diddy. This is astonishing. This is the first time we've heard any security guard that was looking to help Cassie against Diddy. So I went out front, and Diddy was there with like 4 or 5 other security guards. And when he realized that she was gone, he looked at me and said, you played me. And because I said, it's not there. And Diddy realized that we had helped her get away. He's like, you played me. And I just got in my car and I got the heck out of there. And Did you go home? No. I didn't think it was safe for me to go home. So I ended up going to a hotel. At first they were following me. I turned off my lights and I lost them. And I stayed at the Universal Sheraton. And in general, I would keep $1,000 in a bag in case I ever had to run away from Diddy. Why $1,000? $500 in security and $500 for a hotel. And this way, if I ever had to run away, I could do it without having to give my name to the hotel, so no one would find me. It was pretty horrific. It's pretty bad stuff. He talked about her 29th birthday, how Diddy shows up there, and he talked about sometimes that Diddy was violent with him, where he choked him and he got mad at him. I don't want to get too much into that. He got into Cassie's 29th birthday, and we had heard from Cassie about on her 29th birthday, she was out with friends, and he showed up from out of town. And he said, and so now Deontay is saying, Puffy asked me if he should come to see Cassie for her 29th birthday. And I said, if you want to. Well, considering all the abuse you had seen him, Maureen asked Deontay, why would you say if you want to? And he goes, this is what Deontay goes. This is his answer to Maureen Comey. Girl, I was not about to tell that man he couldn't throw her a party. This is the sort of thing. That's the sort of comment that just makes the jury room just erupt. And it makes him sound so completely credible, where it's like, yeah, I can understand that. You're not going to tell him. You're not telling him that he's not coming for her party. She wants to come. If she wants to come, he's coming to the party. That's just what's happening there. I haven't checked over in I haven't checked over my Rumble. So let me do a quick check there. Of course, that's not working. I forgot how to find this. All right. So what happens on her 29th birthday? Sure enough, Diddy comes. And she's at a karaoke bar, and she just wants to hang out with her friends. And he wants to go to a freak off, and she doesn't. And she's like, she doesn't know how to say no to him. And so Cassie and Diddy, so we're in this one place, and then we end up going to the Blind Dragon, and he's pointing in her face, and he like very sternly. I couldn't hear him. And the next thing I know, we're going back to Cassie's house for her to get her bag. What's in her bag? Toys that she would bring to these freak offs. And she comes home and she gets her bag, and I was like, why are you not going? Let's go out for your birthday. And she said that she didn't have a choice. She had to go with him. And she said Cassie looked higher, like really high. Diddy looked high, but Diddy looked more in control, and ended up driving off in some golf cart. Never see him again. That's her 29th birthday. Then talked about New Year's Eve 2017. We're in Vegas. Defendant and Cassie and the staff. We're all on the same floor, and Diddy and Cassie are in a room, and Diddy said that she had been asleep for 20. She said, and Diddy comes to me. He's like, she's been asleep for 24 hours. Go wake her up. So it took me into the hallway, and so I go and I wake her up, and then Cassie tells me that Diddy wants me to leave because he wants to have a man over. So I had to leave. And so I'm leaving, and I went back to my room, and I see some strange dude just knocking on their door, going in there. Anyway, he ends up going on saying that he's very close with Cassie. He had 5 meetings with the government and talked about this whole thing. I'm not sure if I said this. The opening of his testimony, when he's asked, "Do you want to testify?" He's like, "Absolutely not," and that he would end his meetings with the government because he didn't want to be testifying here. He never wanted to be in this situation. But he said when he was asked, "When's the last time you spoke to Cassie?" Yesterday. I called to wish her congratulations on her new baby. A baby. And then he called to wish her congratulations. And there we go. We got an hour and I'm going to just tell you quickly here. It was an hour and 20 minutes across. And it was so slow and so plodding. This is by Xavier Donaldson, who's doing the cross. It was nothing, like literally nothing. He's asking about his times he met. He's like, so when you came there, you came to this company. You were not a celebrity stylist. Now you're a celebrity stylist. That's a massive step up. And that comes only because you're working for Bad Boy Records. So this was a massive career move for you, wasn't it? And now you're a big shot celebrity stylist. And that's all because of the defendant here. He brought you in here. And this has been thematic throughout the state's case in chief. That when there's cross-examination, we either hear about how much fun Diddy is, how entertaining, and I understand what they're doing, but every person, how much fun he is in general, not when he's, when he's not punching Cassie's lights out or choking some dude, he's a lot of fun. And I think that's probably true. It's probably true that, let's say, 3 out of 4 days, he's really cool to be around. It's just that 4th day sucks really bad. So even with cross-examination, he's like, hi, how are you? And Deontay's like, blessed. Everything he said, it was just, he has a lot of charisma. And it played very well with the room I was in. I'm not in the actual room. I'm with Diddy and the judge. I'm in a viewing room. There's 50 people who are like, or 75 people who are free to react with a little more volume than other people in the room, and they thought he was charming as all get out. So if not pressing how much fun it is, then the other thing they want to press on is all the advantages that people had from becoming into Diddy world. Like now you become a big shot celebrity stylist, and he's asking different celebrity stylists that he worked with. The best part of Donaldson's cross-examination, I'll share with you, was this. He basically was saying she's working and she's recording regularly. So, and they would often film that. Isn't that true? So you're helping her look every day, right? And isn't it in Bad Boy Records' interest that she should look good in case they're filming it? They have an expensive studio. Who's paying for that? Diddy's paying for that. And he's paying for that, and she's showing up there to work. So shouldn't he want her to look good and make sure that she looks good? So I thought that this was a good line of attack to say he's not controlling her by saying how she should look. That's part of his investment in her. Okay. I thought that's a fair line. That's a fair perspective for a defense to break. So I gave him credit for that. He said, so you were an intern in 2007, yeah, and then you catapulted to being a stylist in 2008. Like, yeah, I guess. And you became a serious celebrity stylist. Let's go through all different people who you worked with, and starts talking about who he worked with and different celebrities. And there was all these different. There was 3 or 4 he listed. There were 4 artists. There was Little Kim, Cassie, Mace, and Diddy. That he was a stylist for all of them. He asked him about Rob Holiday. He referred during his direct to Rob Holiday, who was at one of these different events, as being a low budget producer. So he said, you referred to him as a low budget producer during your direct testimony. Is that because he works for cheaply, or is that because you think he doesn't have class, or is that because he comes in under budget? Is that because you find him somewhat distasteful? And he's like, I think a little bit of all that. So I don't know who Rob Holiday is, but Deontay's not a fan. And he basically he started asking about Cassie's drugs. Do you see her take drugs? I've seen her take prescriptions and Molly and Coke and X, and that she used to be addicted to prescriptions. And also bringing up there, this was the last thing I'm going to get before I get on out of here and go do my other show. The last point they brought up right before we wrapped up the day is he started going down at this incident when he's like, so now you're an employee and you're attacking your boss there by the bed frame incident. You're attacking your employee. And Mia, she's also an employee. You're attacking. And this other incident there where he's grabbing the hair and D-Rock is helping out. These are all employees who are working to try and stop Diddy. They're working against their boss. And the objective in this is try and say it's not Rico, because they're not working in his interest. They're not working together to help him accomplish this. And perhaps that helps with the Rico. Maybe. If you can say that the isolated incidents would knock off the other times when they stood by or they helped the extortion or other stuff. I'm giving both sides. I want you to understand both sides of this. And I thought, and I was saying this during a short break, that Donaldson's playing a dangerous game with this whole thing about the employees jumping in to help out Cassie when she's getting railed on by Diddy. Because you can look at it and say, okay, that might help on Rico. It could. It could make them say, look, this is not a cohesive unit trying to create to engage in criminal activity, because some of the members of the unit, some of his staff are turning against him. That's one way they could look at it, or it could be looked at in a disastrous way for the sex trafficking, because it could be like he's so abusive and this looks so horrible that if you're there, that even these people who are being paid by him and are presumably somewhat intimidated by him, even they stood up to him, because this is how terrible it looked if you were actually there. So it might be that he's helping the Rico. It could be that he's really hurting on the trafficking and showing the level of control and how out of control Diddy could be. That's the thoughts I have for today. I'm going to be dropping more videos. If you like this type of content, please like, share, subscribe. I'm heading over to my other show. I'm really late over there. It's supposed to be like 18 minutes ago. So I'm going to be heading over there right now. I hope you'll join me. And that's where I'll be doing the following program. I'm going to be starting that in less than 2 minutes. I just need to sort of refresh myself. And I'll see you all over there. If you're here just for Diddy, till tomorrow, good night. Godspeed.